Hi everyone, wow, it's amazing to be here with you. I have had an amazing day yesterday. I'm super excited for today. So, who wants to learn about open source? Just me? A few people? Great, well, you're in the right place. Everyone else, thank you so much for supporting. I really appreciate, you being here. Sorry, I'll laugh at my own jokes. My entire career success has been because of open source. That's what has accelerated my career, not hacker rank and leak code. And I'm sorry, not even LinkedIn. For those of you who love LinkedIn, I'm really sorry. It has been open source. I haven't needed to do a resume in over 10 years. So hopefully that's got your attention. Open source is everywhere. You're using it now. Your parents are using it, your grandparents are using it. It's everywhere, on your phone, on the internet, kitchen appliances, in your cars. I mean, it's even gone to Mars. So who am I? Who is this person talking about open source? Well, you can usually find me on socials. I'm usually creating content. I'm with my laptop in the sun, near some water with a screaming face. And I'm probably screaming because I'm near water with my laptop. But luckily, nothing bad has happened yet. And even though I've got a screaming face, I really promise I am friendly. So do come and chat to me afterwards if you have any questions. But it wasn't always like that. I did used to work in the corporate world. I did wear a suit. I did go into the office every day as well. But open source changed everything. But what is open source? Well, the way I like to explain it is, it's like Twitter, it's like Instagram. You get to share your content. I specifically didn't say code, and I'll explain why later, but you get to share your content, and people can like it, they can comment on it, but you can do so much more. You can make improvements to it, which is why when I share my content on GitHub, one of the most popular platforms, there are others, I'm just there to kind of start the conversation, and then people usually improve my work. So if you have one takeaway from my talk, whatever tool you're using, I know we had James on before me, and he's really into Astro. So if you're using React or Astro or anything like that, they're all open source. And in 10 years, I bet you're not going to be using those tools. They will have changed. There'll be the next cool thing. Like, who remembers Angular 1 and jQuery back in the day? But they're all open source. So that's what I want you to take away, that open source is here to stay, and it's only growing. And that's what I'm going to show you in this talk. But the key thing about open source is it's about collaboration. It's not about code. So why should you care? Let me go into a little bit more detail. Can one person make a difference? Absolutely, you can. And hopefully I can prove that to you in this talk. But you'll get to learn different perspectives when you work on different projects. I think that's really important. You might think, oh, I love the way they're doing this. I want to use that in my next project. I'm not too keen. I don't like the way they're doing that. I'm not going to do that. And that's fine, but at least you're aware of that, and you're not going to do it that way, and that's fine. You made a conscious decision to do it. You get real-world experience, which I think is really, really interesting. You get to work with people from Google or Facebook or NASA, and you're collaborating on technologies that you really, really enjoy. So it's fun, and it's a great way to learn and grow your network. You get multiple mentors. I find it really strange when people say, I want one mentor, I want a mentor. Why have one mentor? You can have hundreds of mentors. And if you're doing something in, I don't know, React or Mongo, you can get a mentor in open source to teach you, and they're an expert in that specific technology. So get multiple mentors. Companies and hiring managers are looking at GitHub and looking at your GitHub profile. But they're not looking at what you may think. Most people think they're looking to see, is your latest code the best code in the world? Well, no, they're not looking for that. They're looking, is your code today better than it was 3 months ago? Because that's the important thing. It shows that you're still learning. So don't remove any old projects. If you're embarrassed of your old projects, that's great, and definitely keep them there. It will add value to your story and your journey. The other thing they're looking for is how you collaborate with people. Collaboration is really hard, and it's something we need to practice. And it's really hard to test in an interview as well. But don't get me started on interviews. I know the interview process is completely broken. But this way makes your life much easier, because what happens if you skip the interview process? because they can see how you collaborate. They can see how you communicate with other people around the world. So make your life easier. I mentioned it's not only code, so let me give you some examples. There's tests, there's documentation, there's infrastructure as code, accessibility, performance, project management, UX, automation, pen testing. Like, I'll be here till tomorrow if I list all the things. Coding is a really, really small part. But it's also about context. Someone who contributes to open source, you can spot them from a mile away, because when they create an issue or create a pull request, they always have context. They don't just write like 3 words and assume that everyone knows what it's going to be. So they will give it context, and I think that's really important. Someone doesn't have to read a whole backstory on Discord or anywhere else. They will just read the issue and understand what is going on. Onboarding. So there are so many great projects out there, but the documentation isn't great, especially the onboarding. Like, it's once you get started, it gets a bit easier, but the onboarding isn't that good. And that's where everyone can come in, where all of you can come in. Because the onboarding process is very hard to improve. Because once you've onboarded someone, you can't onboard them again. They know your project. They might not know all of it, but they know how to get started with it. So the onboarding process is really, really hard to improve, and I think that's why it's not very good. But when you get new people to the project, that's how you can improve it. And I like to say to people, if you can't figure out the project, if you can't get it working, if you can't understand what the project's about, there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with the project. But with your help, we can improve the project and make it better. And that's how we get those processes better, by your feedback. Okay, I'll skip this bit and move on. Right. If you're new to tech and you're new to a project, that's an advantage. Use it to add value to the project, which is what open source is about, and what anything's about. Even in our job, we're there to add value. So use being new to technologies or being new to a project or new to tech in general as an advantage. It definitely is. So I keep mentioning collaboration, so let's talk about collaboration. When you get an idea, you usually start a discussion. It might be on GitHub discussions, it might be on Discord or Slack. I have no idea where you use. Wherever it is, you start a discussion, you chat with people and say, I've got this kind of idea. Let's talk about it a bit more. So it's collaboration. And then once you've kind of solidified the idea a little bit, you probably raise an issue. And the issue usually has a title and a description. So basically it's a ticket. Title and description, and people can put comments in. And here you start making the idea more concrete, and you're going to assign that to someone. That's the idea. So that's collaboration. And then next, once it's assigned to someone, you usually raise a pull request, also known as a PR. And that has a title and a description, just like an issue. And it can get comments, just like an issue, but it actually has some project changes associated to it. So you'll create a pull request, and it'll have some project changes with a discussion, comment, and you can put inline comments as well to be more specific. So if you can help me out here, discussions, the first step, is collaboration. Issues is collaboration. And a pull request is, why, collaboration? Okay, cool. Shameless plug here, my open source community, EddieHub, we actually have a strap line which says, collaboration first, code second. I keep mentioning value, and I want to mention consistency here as well. So when you go to the gym or brush your teeth, you don't panic about it. You just do it. It's something you do little and often. I think that's really, really important, right? You don't get up in the morning or you go to bed and you think, oh my God, I've got to brush my teeth tonight, or oh my God, when I get up, I've got to brush my teeth. You just do it. And open source should be like that. You should do it little and often. And whatever your frequency is, once a day, once a week, once a month, that's fine. But you want to be consistent with open source. That's how you get the maximum benefit out of it. You're not going to brush your teeth all weekend and then not brush it for the rest of the year. Open source is exactly the same. And if you miss a day in open source, or a week or a month, whatever your frequency is, that's fine. And same if you're watching movies late at night on the sofa and you fall asleep and you forget to brush your teeth. You're not going to wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, my teeth have fallen out. And breaks are important anyway as well. So do take breaks from open source, not brushing your teeth. That's another discussion anyway, the taking breaks. So what are some of the challenges as a contributor? Well, time. I'm guessing time's quite a big challenge. We all have lives, we have work. We might have kids, parents we need to look after and so forth. So I appreciate time is difficult for everyone. But maybe try and carve out, like you would put in your calendar, a meeting or something like that, 30 minutes, an hour a week, whatever that is. And that might change. If you change jobs or have a kid, then that month might be very different. But I'm talking kind of generally speaking. Try and get a frequency, like going to the gym and keep doing it. Another challenge is, where do you find good projects? I think this is one of the hardest things to do, definitely, but also one of the things that comes up a lot. How do I find projects? How do I find one that goes at the same speed that I want to go at, one that has technology that I want to use, all that great stuff, and is friendly, and we're definitely going to get into that later on, because friendly projects are really, really important. You don't want to have a bad experience and not benefit from all of that. Some people say, I found a bug and I don't know how to fix it. That's fine. Finding a bug is adding value. You take a screenshot, log information about the bug, and someone else can fix it. You don't need to fix it. People are worried about breaking things in open source. Don't be worried. If you're unsure, commit that code, raise that pull request. If you're on GitHub and you're new to it and it's got all these weird names, forks and upstream and all that stuff, just click that button. Don't worry, you cannot break anything. And if you do break something on someone else's project, well done, you found the bug, and they can, you can help them fix it. So do not worry about breaking anything. Finding projects, right, so we get into the techie stuff and it gets a bit more exciting. So you have the libraries and frameworks that you use every day. You could contribute to those. I'm sure you've gone through their documentation and thought something was missing, or you found a bug. You could raise an issue. You could fix the bug. There are so many different ways. But those projects probably move quite fast. And so, it's probably not a good place. It's a good place and not a good place, depending on your level of experience. So maybe don't start with that, but have that in your back pocket for later, because that's quite an exciting thing to do. There is the Good First Issue label, which you'll see explode next month with Hacktoberfest. That's not a great place to start, to be honest. Hopefully no one from GitHub is watching. It's not a great place to start, because most Good First Issues are actually not good first issues. They're actually, someone's either stuck, or they've had an idea and they've put a Good First Issue label on it, but haven't given any information to how to do it and all the rest. So you might skip that. There is GitHub search and advanced search, where you can search for labels, you can search for topics, you can even search for has had activity in the last 30 days, so the project is still alive. So you could do that too. But again, there's just hundreds of millions of results on GitHub, so probably quite hard to find a project that you like. So what I'd recommend to do is join some communities. Join 2 or 3 communities. It could be around open source, it could be around technology, it could be around an idea, anything like that. And just watch a few communities and see which ones look friendly and you want to get involved in. And then focus on one. And it's important to focus on one, because then you can get involved in the conversation. The benefit comes from getting involved in the conversation. Helping others, asking questions is really, really beneficial. And you can always change communities and projects later if you want, but don't change too much. I mean, you wouldn't join 10 gyms and think you'll get healthier, right? You have to join one and keep going to it. So stick with one project, one community, once you found the one you like. And if you change later, that's also fine. Once you've found the project, okay, this is where it gets a bit more exciting, well, from my point of view anyway, you can click on the Insights tab at the top, and then down the left, you'll have Community Standards. Check and see they've got a contributing guide, a code of conduct, and the license as well. That's probably a really, really good place to just check that the project is looking for contributors. Then this is my favorite tip. So if there's one thing you take away, I think I've used that line already. Maybe if there's 2 things you take away, this is the second one. Go to the pull request tab and go to the closed pull requests. And it will list 2 types. They'll have the red icon and the purple icon. You're interested in the red icons, the ones that were closed and not accepted. And that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. There will be closed and not accepted pull requests. But what you want to do is click on those pull requests and go look at the conversation and see why it was closed. If it was closed in a friendly way, saying, thank you so much for the contribution, but this is not something we want on the project right now, maybe raise an issue next time first. It will save you, making a pull request and us closing it. And then that's fine. But if there's just loads of them just closed without any comment and people don't know why it's being closed, then you probably don't want to contribute to that project. I mentioned good first issue. One thing we're experimenting in the BioDrop open source project is using points on issues. So those of you familiar with Agile, you understand points. I appreciate none of you will know what the value of 1 point or 3 points is. However, you will know that 3 points is a lot more complicated than a 1-pointer. So therefore, good first issue kind of becomes irrelevant because a good first issue is very subjective to the person. So look at points, and maybe start off with a 1 or 2 pointer, see how that goes, and then the following day, the following week, if you want to contribute and you haven't got that much time, maybe stick with a 1 or 2 pointer. But if you realize, I've got half a day, I really want to learn something new and dedicate some time, maybe go to a 3 or 5 pointer and just stretch yourself. And then a month later, your norm might be a 5-pointer. So just find that balance, experiment, and try things out. I know another question I get, I know what some of you are probably thinking is, how can I contribute? Do I just look through issues? Do I look for good first issues or read through loads of them and try and find something that interests me that I think I can do? You could do that, and definitely start off with something that you feel comfortable in doing, and then get familiar with the community and the maintainers, and then you can challenge yourself more, and then they'll support you and help you more. But another thing you can do is automate something for them. So this is a JavaScript project, a package JSON file, but you can do this in any language. I'm just using this as an example. We have a scripts section, and you can see you've got a build and a lint and a test. Most projects have those, but so many projects don't automate that. They run it manually. Whereas with a few lines of YAML config that you can literally copy and paste from another project, you can automate this each time someone makes a change, a commit, a pull request, whatever it is. And the community in the project will be so happy that you've done that. Maybe they just never got around to it. Maybe they were scared of GitHub Actions, or you could use another CI. And the great thing is that improves the quality of the conversation, because I still want you to collaborate on the pull requests, but I don't want you to collaborate on, oh, the formatting isn't correct and the spacing, you're missing a semicolon, whatever it is, right? The tool should pick that up. The author of the pull request will get a notification that the action ran and it failed and you need to fix this and this. They can fix that, and then you can collaborate on the interesting, more exciting stuff. Automated tests is a great way to get involved in the project, because with automated tests, most projects do not have good coverage. And so automated tests is a great way to get involved and to learn and understand the project. And trust me, the maintainers and contributors will love you for it. Here on the screen, you can see Playwright. It actually has a fix me test. And the reason for that is you might have an idea for a test. You might think, oh, this is not covered in the test. I haven't got time to write it. Well, you can put a placeholder that says fix me, and you can put in comments, step 1, log in, step 2, do this, step 3, expecting this, and so forth. And then someone else who maybe doesn't know the project but knows how to write tests or wants to learn how to write tests can then come and fill in the body of that test, right? Little and often, and just keep adding a little bit of value, and that's how the project moves along really, really fast. I mean, Storybook's another example. People update their components in the front end, and they don't update Storybook. So you can just, update that. I say just. It's easy when you know how, and the first time you do it, it'd be scary. But yeah, go and update these things. They get out of date really, really quickly. Another thing you can do is you can review someone else's pull request, and you don't even have to be a maintainer on the project. You can review someone else's pull request, and you can add so much value, even by asking questions, make suggestions. I mean, you could even test the pull request. Does it actually work? Does it do the things that it's meant to do? It also improves your contributing graph, which is what the hiring managers and recruiters and all the rest look at. The green squares at the top, they don't mean anything. Underneath, the contributing graph is really, really important, because most people have 100% commits. Well, great, you can push a lot of things to a project, but can you collaborate with people on issues? Can you raise pull requests? Can you review pull requests? That's really, really hard to do. But please don't blindly approve pull requests to get that graph looking better. That is the fastest way to get banned from a project. How can you level up even further? I mean, maybe some of you, maybe all of you are contributors like every day and you've got way more green squares than me, and that's fine. But what can you do next? Well, you can, change projects, pick more challenging projects, but you can also become a maintainer on that project. If you're familiar with it, they might invite you to it. If you've customized your GitHub profile, you are actually a maintainer. That's an open source project that someone could raise an issue, someone could raise a bug, someone could raise a pull request for. Yes, it's your GitHub profile, and you might want to work with them on it. You might say thank you and accept it, and you might reject it, and that's fine. So all of you are probably maintainers, because I'm sure you've customized your GitHub profile. Things not to do. Okay, this is really, really important. I always talk about what to do, and this is what not to do. Please do not use the default branch, ever, 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 ever. And it will save you so much pain later on. People say, oh, I just couldn't bother to run that command, or I couldn't bother to click that branch button. And then they end up with conflicts with themselves later on. So please save yourself a lot of pain. Do not use the default branch. Massive PRs do not add more value. They're less likely to get merged, and they're really hard to review. So make your pull request as small as possible, just enough to add value to the project. What else have we got on here? 3 minutes ago, that's a true thing. So don't DM the maintainers on all platforms and say, I've raised a pull request, and send them the link. And I had one recently, actually this morning, and they wrote a message to me in a DM on Twitter, on Discord, and all over the place, and said, Eddie, my pull request has been open for a while. Could you have a look at it? It's like, oh, I'm so sorry, did I miss a notification? I mean, I get just as many notifications on GitHub as I do as Twitter. So I was like, maybe I missed it, it happened. So maybe it's a week later, thank you so much for reminding me. And it said 7 minutes ago, and I was like, come on, I'll get to it later this week. Thank you so much for your contribution, but 7 minutes, it hasn't been opened a while. But yes, and also don't think you need to contribute to the biggest project. I see people kind of getting discouraged contributing to open source because they try and contribute to Kubernetes or React, and these projects move fast. And with time zones and so forth, you raise a pull request, you get a comment the next day because they're in a different time zone or they're busy, or the day after, and then by the time you look at it, a week can go past, and now there could be conflicts with your pull request because other things that have been going on previously are now merged in. So, set yourself up for success and definitely challenge yourself. You definitely want to challenge yourself 20%, but don't challenge yourself, more, because you've got other things that you need to do as well. Some bonus tips. Join a community and be active. I can't recommend that enough. That is something I wish I started sooner. Like I said, you can join EddieHub, or you can join any other community. James mentioned his community earlier as well. Join a community. Trust me, it is the best place. Everyone there wants you to succeed, so they're there to support you and help you. You're all here to support me, and I really appreciate it. Maybe a couple of you are thinking, I hope he falls over, I hope he falls over. But most of you are probably thinking, I hope he succeeds. And that's what they want for you in open source and in communities as well. Read the contributing guide. A lot of questions come in, and I love questions, so I hope some of you come and ask me questions afterwards. But I love questions. But many people ask questions in Discord that is the first line of the contributing guide. So definitely have a look at that. It's like, one page. So before you contribute to any project, read the contributing guide. And if it doesn't have one, maybe you can write one and start improving it. And search previous issues before creating a new issue. If it's closed or open, to see if one's been raised already. I think that helps a lot with maintainers. And when you ask questions, like I said, do ask specific questions. I think that's really, really important. So I'm working full-time on the Biodrop project. It's the open source alternative to Linktree. We were called Linktree up until a couple of weeks ago, rebranded to Biodrop, so a bit of a tongue twister for me. But yes, the open source alternative to Linktree, but we're focused on tech and GitHub and so forth. And our project isn't perfect. I mean, our onboarding, I think, is pretty good. Because I wrote it? Hell no. Because other people wrote it and keep making little improvements. I think that file's probably had like 1,000 different contributors to it and keep making little improvements. And there are still more improvements to be made. So please, come have a look and come and geek out with me, and we can all learn together. So let's conclude. Open source is not just about code, and open source is definitely about for everyone. It will help you upskill faster. You will your technical skills will improve. But also I don't want to say the word soft skills, because they are actually quite hard. So the core skills will improve as well. And like I said, that's really hard to test and really hard to improve. And so that's why, collaborating with people around the world in different time zones who speak different languages has definitely helped me become a lot better. And I'm still learning. Open source will open a lot of doors for you. Not on day one. Don't think you're going to kind of, do 100 hours this weekend and have everybody knocking on your door next week. It does take time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I see some of you shaking your head, which is good, that they realize there's no 100 hours in a weekend, so some of you are still awake. But it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So please do little and often. And if you want to connect, here's my bio drop, QR code, and link. We forgot to test that QR code. Hopefully that works. And you can connect with me on YouTube or on Twitter, wherever you want. And hopefully some of you will come and speak to me afterward. Bring your questions, bring your ideas, bring your open source projects. I'd love to geek out with you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.